Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and today I have a review of Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I don't actually know why I called it a review because we all know that really all I'm doing over these parts is sharing my thoughts about the book. In this novel we see Viv, who is an orc barbarian choosing to retire from the work of being a hired assassin and open a coffee shop. This is described as cozy fantasy. As we know, I had not a few issues. I didn't have issues with the book. I just felt like whenever anyone was talking about this book, they were acting like this book was doing something new and different when it's something that we've seen in the past, be it with Terry Pratchett or Tom Holt, but with quite a few authors, they've written spoofs of the fantasy genre. There was even one by Paul Stewart and Chris Riddell when I was a child for children, which was Muddle Earth. Yes, I'm aware that they're more of a comedic fantasy and what Travis Baldree was setting out to do here. I will read sometime in mid-2020, during the height of COVID, I told some friends that I wished I could read a Hallmark Channel story set in the Forgotten Realms. Something that wasn't fraught and that was more like chicken soup rather than pub food. And this was a National Novel Writing Month book and originally published through Kindle. And I think that it's fantastic that Travis Baldree has managed to have the success that he has had and is certainly an inspiration to other indie authors. However, it's just about setting up this coffee shop. It's incredibly low stakes and there isn't really any drama. And any sort of drama that does occur is resolved very quickly and it's very quiet in tone. Yes, he did do what he set out to do. Yes, there were touches of the Terry Pratchett within here with these moments of magic, whereas ordinarily in our world it would all be attributed to electricity or science. I found it very middling, really. If you're a coffee lover, then you'll really love this book. And whilst I do like coffee, I don't like it to the extremes that the people in here do. And I wonder, does this culture exist of regularly visiting coffee shops? I mean, I go to a coffee shop once a week on a Thursday evening and share coffee with a friend and we chat. And I appreciate that. And maybe that's the thing that Travis Baldree was trying to recreate here. Due to it being so low stakes, it almost felt as though it lacked any sort of peril. It just felt like nothing could go wrong. This was also mentioned because of this Scalvert stone that we saw Viv take in the first chapter. It's a bit like, you're incredibly lucky, everything's going right for you, it's very difficult for something to go wrong. Okay, something can go wrong so we can have a climax and get out of here. And then for the most part, I'm just going to spend 200 pages describing things that are everyday to human beings. And I think that that was what my problem was so much time spent enthusing over coffee and creating this space that is just so like every flaming coffee shop in the world. I'm not the target market for this. I find it incredibly difficult to get so invested in an orc opening a coffee shop. Yay, great for you. You are changing your life and you're recognising that it is possible to find your tribe very late in life. What else is there, really? There's very little characterisation. We don't really know much about Viv other than she is an orc, and you have to know what an orc is. You have to come into this fantasy story with that knowledge for yourself because you ain't really getting any history about the character. Yes, there is now a prequel, but I shouldn't have to read the prequel to know this character's history. And I'm not saying that I wanted an entire backstory, but just to know where she was coming from would have been nice, because all I knew was once upon a time she was walking through a gnome city and she came across coffee and she loved it so much that she decided that she was going to invest her savings into opening a coffee shop. And you got told this a lot. But other than that, you didn't really get told who she'd been. And as I say, there was very low threats, low peril. And so I feel like the author knowingly withheld things because they wouldn't have fit in with the overall tone of the book. It's also one of those things where you have to know what a succubus is before you come into this. And there's a lot of stuff that you need prior knowledge of that really you have to be a fantasy reader in want of a cozy novel, or you want to be someone who doesn't read fantasy, who says they read fantasy, who doesn't care to actually figure out what an orc was, because on the original cover of this, they had the picture of the two of them together. So you can just look at that and be like, that's Viv and Thandi. I don't need to go and actually know what any of these characters are because I have them represented here. And I don't need description. I don't need characterization because I've just got 200 pages of talking about what bloody coffee is and getting very enthusiastic over a cinnamon roll. All these flaming pastries, I'm just like, I don't care. It was a fast read. It was cozy. I feel like it's great for something to read if you're feeling particularly overwhelmed and fraught. And I think that for when this book came out, it was incredibly timely because people needed books where it wasn't so full of peril because everything felt so perilous. It's a nice, quaint distraction to remind people of ordinary things. It's just 200 pages of bringing coffee to a fantasy world without really much going for it. My goodness, I was never going to be a fan of this one. And that's Legends and Lattes. If you've read this book and would like to discuss it, I'm sure you will have a converse opinion to my own. Feel free to share that in the comments. Let's open up a discussion. I hope that you got something out of this video. And until next time, that is all.